As you guys know, I am a big fan of the Moto G, Moto's off-contract budget phone that packs in a surprising amount of good features for a super cheap price. As I stated in my review, the Moto G is a good choice for anyone wishing to dip their toes into the Android waters, or for anyone who needs a second cheap smartphone. The Moto X Pure Edition is a whole different beast altogether. It looks similar to the Moto G in build material, but it's way bigger, has a 5.7-inch QHD screen at 1440p, a 21-megapixel rear-facing shooter, a front-facing flash, captures 4K video, and features extremely fast charging. Unlike the budget Moto G, the Moto X Pure Edition is Motorola's de facto flagship offering for 2015. At $399 for the base model, it's more than double the price of Motorola's popular Moto G, yet much cheaper than major flagship models from big-name Android OEMs. So, how does it stack up with the competition, and how does it compare with the iPhone 6 Plus, its closest iOS competitor? Check out our full review for all the details. Build quality. The first word that came to my mind when holding the Moto X is solid. Like the Moto G, the build quality benefits a lot from its aluminum underpinnings. I opted for an off-the-shelf Moto X so I didn't have to go through Motorola's Moto Maker program to customize the look of my device. That's nice, but you can get much faster shipping times with Amazon just buying an off-the-shelf model. Screen. The Moto X boasts a 5.7-inch QHD screen that is technically more impressive than the iPhone 6 Plus, but in reality, I couldn't tell much of a difference between the two. I did find the Moto X to run a little warm color temperature-wise with a noticeable yellow tinge. The Moto X's screen is large, but when you consider the presence of Android's software buttons in, say, a browser, the size difference is negated. Sound quality. Sound is one of the best features found on the Moto X, but at the same time, it's also at the center of one of the device's biggest flaws. The Moto X's speakers are incredibly loud. These are some of the loudest speakers that I've heard from a smartphone to date. Sadly, distortion and sound glitches occur when the Moto X's screen is rotated.
A very much run-of-the-mill just isn't what you would want to have, generally speaking.
Also, it's kind of weird that the Moto X ships with no earbuds in the box. The Moto X comes with the same system on a chip that is contained in LG's G4, the Snapdragon 808. It comes with 3 GB of RAM, and performance against the iPhone 6 was generally a wash. In some games like Asphalt 8, textures and particle effects seem more pronounced on the iPhone, while the frame rate felt more solid on the Moto X. I think it's safe to say that both of these phones can perform well when it comes to gaming. I felt that pretty much everything else on the Moto X was fairly snappy. Camera opened fast, browsing the web was fairly fast, typing was fast and smooth, browsing the home screen, switching pages, opening folders, all that was really smooth and performed fairly well on the Moto X. Battery charging. Motorola packs in the latest generation of its turbo power charger. The included Turbo Power 25 charger promises to provide a charge that lasts up to 10 hours, and get this, just 15 minutes. Now, I won't go out and say that a 15-minute charge lasts me 10 hours because in real-world usage, that's not totally true, but this thing does charge incredibly fast. The Turbo Power 25 charger is capable of Turbo 2, which is 12 volts at 2.5 amps, or Turbo 1, which is 9 volts at 2.85 amps, for a total power output of 25 watts. Now, that's substantially more than your typical phone charger, and it allows for the Moto X Pure to have ridiculously fast charging times when the device is depleted. Now, as your device builds up a charge, charging slows down. The charging progress slows down. So you're not going to have as fast of a charge when you're at like 85% as you would if you were at 5%. Just keep that in mind. But I did test out the Turbo Power charger and was fairly impressed by what I found. One little complaint I have though is that I don't understand why Motorola makes their chargers an all-in-one device. Like the USB is physically attached to the power brick, so you can't actually disconnect them and use the USB cable as a computer cable. You have to use a separate USB cable for the computer connection. So I just felt that's a little annoying. Same thing with the Moto G. I don't know why Motorola opts for this strategy, but it's not a huge deal. And the Turbo Power 25 charger is very, very fast. Camera quality. Now here's one of the Moto X's big claims to fame, picture quality. Thanks to that Snapdragon 808, the Moto X can support 21 megapixel photos. It also supports 4K videos at 30 frames per second out of the box. Now, the Moto X performs fairly well in low light conditions, and I did take some photos with a single CFL bulb in a fairly dark kitchen setting, and turned out pretty well. I wasn't as impressed with the Moto X as I was with the LG G4, which has the same processor, but it's still pretty good with the Moto X. Autofocus with the Moto X is really fast in both still picture mode and while shooting video. I also found it easy to achieve a pretty good depth of field that most shooters want while focusing on up-close subjects. Now, 4K video is another big draw for the Moto X, and it's a feature that's beginning to trickle down to lesser hardware, but it's still not, completely ubiquitous across all smartphones. The 4K videos on the Moto X are shot at about 6.3 megabytes per second, and that's highly comparable to the just announced iPhone 6s. Both devices are using H.264 compression, so that shouldn't come as a huge surprise. And one big bonus for the Moto X over the iPhone is that it comes with expandable storage via its SD card slot. If you want more storage on that iPhone, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus don't even shoot 4K video, but the new iPhones, if you want additional storage, you have to buy that up front. Here with the Moto X, you can always, even if you buy a 16 gigabyte base model, you can always pop in a 128 gigabyte SD card and really have plenty of storage space for all of your 4K videos. So that is one huge benefit to the Moto X. Software. The Moto X is a pure Android device, and that is not inundated with unnecessary skins, duplicate apps, or third-party bloatware, things that you see in other Android OEMs like the Samsung Galaxy S6 or even the LG G4 to a lesser extent, or the HTC One M9. That's a huge win. You get as close as you can to a stock Android experience with the Moto X without actually buying a Nexus branded phone, which is really great. Conclusion. The Moto X isn't perfect. Its glitchy sound is probably the most noticeable flaw found in an otherwise solid offering. At $399 and up, it's firmly in the mid-tier range as far as price is concerned. It comes with awesome features though, like front-facing stereo speakers. It even comes with a front-facing flash, which I failed to mention, but yes, that's perfect for selfies, and a near-stock Android experience. Now, the build quality lives up to the Moto X's price point, and the screen is very large at 5.7 inches. If you're looking for something a little more substantial than the Moto G and your main device is an Android device, then the Moto X is worthy of your consideration. If you're looking for a secondary Android phone to go along with your iPhone though, then I still pick the Moto G over this device unless you absolutely need the larger screen or the mid-tier specs. Now, all that said, I wouldn't feel ashamed one bit if the Moto X was my primary daily driver. It has great build quality, a couple of headlining features, and puts it all together in an attractive package, both looks-wise and price-wise. Still, however, the flaw with the sound when rotating the screen is pretty significant, in my opinion. Hopefully it's one that Motorola will fix in short order. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. This is Jeff with iDownload Blog.